To talk about Dabo, though, I mean, this has gotten to the point where I think that they need to figure out a way to move on from him. I don't care. Anyone who wants to say that that's an overreaction to push out a national championship winning coach, I think that this is going to get the same treatment as Coach Cal at Kentucky. I think another fan base is going to be desperate to get a new head coach, and they're going to inquire about Dabo, and Dabo is going to feel the pressure of his current situation. We have no idea if Coach Cal is going to work at Arkansas. I'm sure that he will. But it feels like, considering that Dabo has no connection to Clemson before he was the head coach, there's no reason for him to stay there. This relationship, this situation has played out long enough. It is not going to return to the glory that we once saw. They're done. They can't recruit receivers. I'm tired of hearing from the goddamn Clemson fans this whole offseason saying, well, Bo Collins, we pushed him out. We didn't need him. We got guys. You just wait. You'll see. We got guys on the team. We don't need to go in the transfer portal. My ass, you didn't have a receiver that went over 100 yards in this game. The best receiver that you had 76 yards in that game. It's pathetic. It's ridiculous. And it all comes from the goddamn stubbornness of Dabo. The same shit over and over again. It's a farce at this point.
Dabo's gonna hate that you used the Lord's name in vain 3 times there. Here's what I'll say about Dabo. I agree with you that he's got. I mean, Joe, at this point, there's no defending him anymore, right? Like I think that this is played out. But I got to give him this, man. I do think that they recruit at a good level defensively in the front 7. I thought their secondary was good. The problem was, okay, their defense kept having to run back out there over and over and over again, and they just got to – like Peter Woods might be one of the best defensive ends in the country. I mean, that kid is unbelievably good. They have – dude, Joe, I'm just going to call it what it is. Their D-line is one of the top 3 best D-lines in the country. That I fully agree. I fully believe that. The problem is Joe, they're just so anemic offensively. Now, is that Dabo having his hands involved in it? I'm not going to go as far as what you said, because here's what I will say, and this I thought about this during the entire game. I know it's not the same situation. I know it's not, but just stay with me. Oregon also got blasted, okay, a couple years ago by Georgia, and then they wound up in a weaker conference where they went on 8, 9, 10 win season, okay? And I get what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. The separation from Georgia and Clemson is astronomical at this exact moment. The question that I'm going to ask during the season, because the ACC might be this bad, okay, outside of Miami, Joe, I know that they were anemic offensively, but they're not more anemic than what we thought Vandy was going to be in Virginia Tech losing. You get what I'm saying? Like, I mean, there comes a point, I get what you're saying. I agree with what you're saying. Firing him after this game when Georgia is arguable.
They're not going to fire him. That's what my whole argument is that I think that there's going to be a mutual parting of ways.
Okay. However, I just don't want to push him out the door when he's probably going to still run through a weak conference. And that's the thing that I'm just going to hold off on.
That's what Coach Cal did.
The SEC wasn't necessarily weak, though.
Not a weak conference, but like he did great in the regular season and then crapped his pants like usual.
Fair. Well, he's not going to until he starts portaling. Here's the thing, though. They're going to have to figure some things out offensively. Their problem is not a team problem. I don't necessarily know if it is just a Dabo problem at the current moment with them offensively. Cade Klubnik's not your answer, man. He's not. Now, if they would have lost this game by 14 points and they would have relatively kept it close throughout the game, you know what? I would have came in here and said, Joe, you know what? They got beat by a more talented team. Okay, but they didn't do that. The first half is a full indicator of how good that they can be defensively. The problem will continue to remain, though. Joe, the long run by Frazier was because both linebackers were out, because they had to spell them, because both guys had been in the game for the last 20 minutes, right? Like, I mean, it's in pure insanity. I just look at Clemson and say, I don't know if I want to completely write them off at the current moment, but Georgia, I do think Georgia is that dominant.
But here's the problem, though, is that we're allowing the current situation cause us to forget what Clemson was not that long ago. I understand what you're trying to say, that like, okay,
No,
we
I
can't
agree with
wait
you.
wait
I
wait
agree.
we can't allow how good Georgia is for us to not give Clemson the benefit of the doubt to improve against the weak conference and schedule that they're going to face this year. But that shouldn't matter with a team like Clemson that was competing in the national championship every single season. Everybody was talking about how Dabo was
Before
changing
the
the
portal,
game.
before the portal was a thing.
Yeah, but that's the whole point, is that he's choosing to be stubborn. He's deliberately choosing to be stubborn, and he's tanking Clemson back to what they originally were, which is just a good competitive ACC team. And I think that's total BS. Clemson shouldn't expect to go and find a better coach that's going to get them back to the national championship spotlight. But I'm done talking about Dabo and Clemson of ever reaching a national championship caliber again. They're never going to. They're not. They can't keep producing teams like the one that we saw yesterday and expect them to suddenly hit the ground running and catch fire and be as good as they were when they had Trevor Lawrence and Deshaun Watson. They are a shell of the old team that we were used to seeing.
Well, they also don't have a transcendent quarterback. And you are seeing what happens. Look, I'm an LSU guy. I'm going to use this reference so no other fan base gets pissed. He's Les Miles. He's Les Miles.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good comp.
You have a dominant run with unreal talent on defense, but you're so anemic offensively. You do not want to change. Your quarterback play is below average. I mean, Joe, I look at Cade Klubnik, man. I mean, again, they're not even attempting to force the ball down the field. And I'll be real with you, too. I don't think that's a Garrett Riley issue. You know, there's one thing I'm going to push back on you on something that you tweeted yesterday. You said maybe this Garrett Riley hire was overhyped. No, I think Dabo's overhyped at the current moment. I mean, Joe, everything that we saw Garrett Riley do at TCU is almost the polar opposite of what he's doing at Clemson right now. There's only one big issue. It's
Okay.
Dabo versus Sonny Dykes, right? And Sonny, to his credit, got out of the way. Completely got out of the way.
I don't disagree with that part.
Here's another thing. Garrett comes from an air raid offense. Okay, I know it, Joe. We've discussed about air raid. I was in that system, Joe. They're not running air raid principles. They are running Dabo West Coast principles. It is completely against what TCU did a couple of years ago. I think, and look, nothing's going to change. And Dabo's not taking phone calls at his coach's show anymore. Of course he's not. Okay, because he knows what's coming. He's too much of a narcissist to let go of the offense. So that's why he's not going to do it. So you're right. Nothing's going to change. But again, I just want to mention, Joe, are you 1,000? Like, they're going to play Virginia Tech, one of the better teams on their schedule, a team that we thought was going to be really good. That defense is going to kill drones. I mean, let's just be real with it. All right.
Okay.
They are going to kill drones. If Vandy can kill him.
Hey, Vandy's better than we think that they are. I'll still say that.
No, stop your BS. All right.
Okay. This video is sponsored by the online fitness training camp presented by Chris Gates Fitness. When I first started talking about Chris, about partnering with our show, not only was I excited to have a fitness sponsor for our pod, but more importantly, when I found out about how he can help people achieve their goals, I was even more bought in, because when the football season starts, it is so tough to stay on top of things and also to be able to enjoy yourself on Saturdays when it's game day. With Chris Gates Fitness's online training camp, you're going to be able to effectively stay focused, consistent, burn fat, build muscle, and do it with a like-minded community of individuals working towards the same thing. On top of this, you're going to be able to get direct coaching from Chris and the ability to ask him questions with an access to a live Q&A where you can get direct personalized support from Chris himself. Don't wait any longer. If you're trying to get in shape during this fall and you want to be able to do it with the right support system, head on over to chrisgatesfitness.com/trainingcamp or click the link in the description. And you need to do it today because you can get the first month. Personal training's expensive, folks. The first month for only $10 when you use that code RuffinoJoe. Don't wait any longer. Head on over there. BetOnline remains your top spot for all of your live betting action and contests. NFL, college football, UFC, NHL are all in full swing. BetOnline is your number one source for wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions with both desktop and mobile access at any time. Head to BetOnline today and use promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for 50% off your first deposit. That is a 50% welcome bonus. Bet online, where the game starts.